Okay, PMax. Now, time for Performance Max. Nigel, can you tell us a little bit more about how this works?
Yeah, absolutely. So Performance Max is a really, really powerful new, kind of relatively new offering from Google. Performance Max as a kind of campaign concept has actually been around for a few years in running on the likes of kind of paid search and display. But in terms of the travel industry, they only really added the Google hotel ads towards the end of last year. But what this means is that you can have one single campaign and ultimately target Google's entire suite of channels, given it one particular kind of campaign goal, which in this case would be kind of return on ad spend, and it will ultimately go after all these different channels and try and deliver you that target ROAS across all these different kind of inventory sources. So from a kind of simple point of view, it's really powerful. You can get huge scale, huge inventory, and ultimately aim to deliver that at kind of one ROAS level.
Okay, so Google bringing you people from multiple different channels, all at the same target return on ad spend.
Well, ultimately, that's what the average is they're hoping to deliver you. That's the key. So if we look at this, this is their kind of classic marketing funnel, as you can go through the kind of the various different stages. So starting kind of awareness, working it down from interest, consideration, ultimately kind of to purchase. And so the thing here is that the different Google channels offer themselves have more propensity to be used at different levels of that user funnel, of that kind of journey. And so what actually happens is that the kind of the performance levels that you might see with these different channels is going to vary quite considerably. So if you go into the next slide, this is kind of just an illustrative example. But when you're kind of running an awareness campaign, that might be kind of just making people look, you're building awareness, getting your brand out there. You would expect from a return ad spend point of view a much lower return than a purchase campaign. So if you're running really sharp, meta search or potentially like branded paid search, then you expect a better return than your kind of top level awareness campaigns, given the intent of the user. What Performance Max does is it's a black box, so it gives you a blended ROAS outcome, and say you set it to hit a target of say 10x. You don't necessarily then have that understanding of, okay, well, my brand stuff over here is running at 20x and my other stuff running here at 4x, and I want to have this much of this, this much of this. It just basically gives you, well, we're going to try and get you 10x across all of this.
So
no, that's absolutely right.
Doing PMax or individual campaigns? Sorry, back to you.
Yeah, so I mean, this really depends on who you are, how much time you have, how big your hotel is or your hotel chain is, and how much resource you have. So if you are a relatively small chain that has a light on resource, Performance Max, on the surface is fantastic. You can run and get a huge amount of inventory and volume from one single campaign, and therefore it's potentially pretty light touch. And so like if you're a small hotelier, it is a great option. That is very powerful. There's a lot going for it. However, if you are potentially slightly larger, slightly more sophisticated, there really is value in having those separate campaigns running for your branded paid search and your other kind of channels as well, so you can start to see that performance separately. The recommendation we'd have ultimately would actually be to run both. So if you are a more sophisticated advertiser and starts, kind of certainly a medium to larger kind of size player, then running both actually gives you the best of both worlds, because that means that you can kind of have your individual channel campaigns running, but you also then use PMax as kind of a top-up channel. So what Google have said is that you are able to kind of, for example, mark your PMax campaign against your kind of paid search campaign. So in theory, it shouldn't necessarily compete in your brand, your paid search campaign should get preference, but those search terms that you might not be going after on your paid search campaign, it will then start to go after those if it thinks it can deliver you a booking that will lead to enabling it to deliver you more volume at the overall target ROAS that you set.